Well, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining me. My name is Sam Hayes, and this is Why with One Stop. We're going to talk about the 2026 new laws that are going to impact your real estate transaction. A little bit about me. I'm Samantha Hayes. I am car certified in way too many things. I've got a lot of alphabet soup. I love doing this, and any chance I get to learn more that I can share with others to help make their life easier brings me joy. I truly do love this stuff. It's what I do. My mission statement is that I am here to serve as a frontline risk management specialist for independent brokers and agents. I build defendable, compliant, and well documented transaction files that align with DRE, broker, and statutory requirements while always recognizing that ultimate responsibility rests with the broker. Through one stop transaction services, I reduce administrative friction, protect transaction integrity, and restore time and mental bandwidth. I like to make sure that I am fearful so you can be fearless. The services that I offer allow real estate agents and their brokers to focus on business generation, leadership, and growth because all your transaction needs are in one stop. So, thank you so much for coming today. What we're going to talk about and why you need to know about this is it's basically an annual review. There's always some little tweak, there's always something new with the calendar year. And more or less, we have liability when we assume things. We can't say that, oh, well, I don't know what's going on. Well, yeah, you can have a gist of it, but what's really happening? How's this going to apply to your file? How's this going to impact your transaction? So it's worth knowing. I want to make sure you are prepared when you are taking your listings or working with offers. If you know you are working on a condo, you know which documents to be asking for, making sure in the HOA docs. You know what is required when we're talking about zero defensible space zoning. You know what to do. That's why you're here. It also helps with your documentation practices and awareness of requirements. What are the new laws? What are the new forms? We're going to kind of blend the two a little bit, but kind of do a high overview of what's going on. There weren't some too many huge ones, but there's enough that it's going to impact your business and you need to know what's going on for next year. I want to make sure you got an understanding of the upcoming changes and let's reduce those disputes and delays. If you know what needs to happen, you know where to cite it. We don't have to go into a email competition as we all know can happen sometimes. Let's just get the facts. Let's make sure we're getting the information for our clients from the get-go and help expedite these files and having a very successful 2026. As always, this is for education only. Verify all with the broker of record of the file you are working on. This is not legal advice. I am not a lawyer. Now that we did all that fun stuff, bells and whistles, let's start off with the big one that's going to be kind of stressing everybody. It's the AB 273. This is the advertising with digitally altered images. Whatever your take is on AI, we do have people that utilize it for their marketing bits, that they're helping to show what you could do with the home. It's helping to be economic for sellers and agents regarding staging. There's a lot of great tools here. However, we need to make sure we're transparent with those tools. Our ongoing overall message is always transparency, making sure everybody's on the same page. So we need to indicate, is that an AI image? Is there really a view? Does that poll exist there in the outside the window, but we just removed it so it looks good on the MLS? Those are the things we have to talk about. So any changes, I don't care what you did. If you have changed it, we're not talking about enhancing. I'm not talking about, oh, this filter looked better, or I sharpened it up, or I zoomed in. I'm talking you have changed the core photo. The core image is now changed. The door is now blue. The windows have curtains. The living room suddenly has a disco floor. Whatever you put in there, whatever you do to change, whatever you remove, suddenly we're looking out over SeaWorld when you're out in La Mesa. It might be a little less likely. Those are the things that we need to make sure are disclosed. When does it matter? Any type of advertising you're doing, if you do it in social media, on your flyers, if it's in the MLS, whatever, on your signage, your website, if you are advertising this property and you have changed the image to so that it will not be not an enhancement, not a we cleaned up, we focused, the lighting's a little off. I mean, we're talking any type of change to the core image that needs to be disclosed. This does apply to residential, all real estate transactions, and any leases that are over 1 year. And alter images, we're talking not the common photo editing adjustments. If you're in doubt, though, disclose. Image enhanced. Okay, it's better to err on the side of over disclosure than under disclosure. So if you feel that, well, they might not understand that, or oh, there may be a question about it, just say that you've done that. It's no big deal. Worst case, they come back and go, the property looks even better than they thought. Always better to make sure that this is communicated clearly. Now, if you do use a digitally altered image, there are legal requirements. Those that it has to have a reasonably conspicuous statements. So it can't do like I'm seeing a lot of my unsubscribes on my emails. I don't know about you, where they're blending the unsubscribe wording into the color of the background. You can hover over it and find it, but it's not really there. We want it like, hey, this is altered. It needs to be up in the skyline. If it blends too much in the driveway, it needs to be on the curb, somewhere that it stands out, that is reasonably conspicuous. Try and saying that 7 times fast. Um, do you have any doubt? Then move it to where it's really clear. Well, it's ruining the image, Sam. Okay, well, you can put a second one, but it's still going to have that in there. They're going to go see the property. This is something that is going to be required. And even though, well, it ruined, well, I'm upset about my marketing. I'm upset about this. The property is going to be the property, and we need to be realistic about it. And we need to make sure that we are not, for lack of better words, putting lipstick on a pig in certain situations. So make sure you are being transparent, that you are showing one that is either you tell them where to find it, so that we said that it's been changed. Here's the link to the publicly accessible original image if you've changed it that drastically, and or there's a QR or there's a link to it. Some of the MLSs are requiring that you have the original image and the altered image side by side so they can see what's going on. Remember how you phrase this and how you set this up. You're showing potential. And the AI is to help clean it up and get people's attention, which is great, but they need to know that work may be involved. This is not going to be a turnkey situation that suddenly we don't have this perfect living room set that will convey with the property. Not everybody thinks in real estate where we make assumptions going, oh, well, everybody knows. No, everybody doesn't know. They don't know. They don't know. So make sure that you are clarifying with them and letting them know that that is something that is not coming with the property, that that's an idea, a concept, a suggestion. I will put in the YouTube down below comment section. I'll also post it with my Facebook page, the links. I have all of the MLS requirements for down here in Southern California. You can definitely, it was very easy to Google my whichever MLS I'm working with. That was North County, South Bay, and SDAR here in San Diego. Throughout the state, I know the other ones, they already have their rules and regs and step by step. Nobody wants you to fail, but I know a lot of listings are about to go on here for January 1st. We want to make sure that you are properly advertising this because violation of this law is a DRE licensing violation. Well, that's not fun. Nobody wants that. You don't need a ding for this. So let's make sure you know the rules and we're doing this correctly. Some of the MLSs also may have their own requirements. That's why you may have to do the duplicate images. They may not allow branding, and branding could constitute the verbiage on the photo saying this is not, this is AI enhanced. They may not allow you to have links. You may have to figure out a way that you can embed it, or that's with the duplication. Find out from your MLS. So we've got our, just like the AB 2992 that we'll discuss, we've got the NAR settlement, and we've got what's California law. Same with this. We've got AB 273, but then we've got what does the MLS want? Always err on the side of going to what's more conservative, what is going to make sure that there's more communication and more transparency, and always document your files, document you've had the conversation with the seller, have your seller email, say, hey, here's the two different images. I want you to know this is how we're going to be marketing. CC yourself, have them email you back to confirm, put that in your comm log, and you're in good shape. But again, always verify with the broker of record of the file that you are working on. Okay. And if my mouse will play with me here. What is going on, Mr. Mouse? Thank you. It doesn't want to be working on a holiday week either. I understand. Okay, so as we all know, SB 410 is going to be enhancing SB 326. So SB 326, quick refresher, went into effect for any property with an HOA more than 3 units, or excuse me, not more than 3 units on the same APN, where you had to have these inspection reports. And I don't know about you, but I had a few deals fall apart last year because the HOAs would not release the inspection reports where the lenders were requiring them when they knew that they were in play. So as of January 1st, any of your clients with these balconies over 3 units in the structure, that means both 3 unit, 4 unit, 5 unit, one APN, one owner situation, some of the older multi-unit family properties, or condos, PUDs, anything along those lines where we're all in the same structure. Everybody needs to have this report on file at this point. And you got to retain it for like 18 years. You have to make sure it's available for at least the 2 cycles. It has to be on call, all of the stuff. So we had to put it into a law since the HOA industry is not as regulated as some, saying, yes, you have to give this to us. And yes, the seller has access. The seller doesn't have to order the report unless they're the individual ones. That's a different conversation that we can go into with your specific properties. But when there's an HOA involved, the HOA is responsible for ordering this. And the HOA needs to now include it with the HOA docs. Expect to see HOA docs probably increase in cost in the next year. It's one of the things to be aware of when you're taking your listing. Find out, have your client contact the HOA. Have your client give you the information to contact the HOA to find out how much are the HOA docs and confirm if this is applicable to that listing, that this report will be included. Well, what's going on? What do I need? So there's really not expected per CAR's Legal Live that I rewatched this morning just to make sure I kind of had my brain together. Um, there is not a standardization of this report. The summary page does have key elements similar to the NHD that have to be included. So we need to know, when was the inspection? How many units and how many exterior elevated elements? That's your balconies, that could be your stairs. Total number, how many things did they inspect? How many of the, well, that's a good spell, a little typo there. The deliments, you won't forget that one. How many deliments that are of immediate threat? Like, what's fallen down? We've got termites. We're in SoCal year round down here. But you also have issues of moisture and things in Northern California. You got to make sure, and we all have earthquakes. There's some new level of earthquake also that's leveled up that I read about too. That's going to be fun to see what that comes with, new disclosures for that, but that's another conversation. The inspector certified. So this needs to be a certification on there. How do we know the inspectors are certified? Well, if you go back through AB 326, it does outline some of the requirements. I think we're going to see this, like we have other things, get a little bit more detailed as we get into the years of using this in the field, practical issues that arise that we weren't expecting. And what they have to do is, on that certification, it's got to say they have completed a visual investigation. They have actually gone to the property and seen it. Similar to your AVID, you need to go do it, touch the property, find out what's going on. And that we've evaluated a statistically significant sample of the elevated elements. Well, I don't know what that means. So that's one that could be a variable. It's something along those lines that you could get a weird lender pushback. Be aware. Right now, this is what the verbiage is of the law. However, again, that may be refined as things go along. So this still also, there's another new law that came into play that if you have these issues or you have a property that you're selling that does involve balconies, you're going to want to research, and I can always help get more information. But AB 130 is also about, what if they find asbestos? Some of the older properties, that was what they used. There's a time frame for the repairs and a time frame for the updated report. So it does give some grace to let people have time to get these things fixed. As we said, this now applies to everybody. This isn't just, well, they're not in an HOA, so it doesn't matter. No, time to have some conversations with your multi-unit sales and listings, or double check if you've got an investor or a buyer who's looking into a multi-unit property. Make sure you're doing some research when stairs and elevated elements are involved. It is on SPQ 6K. So if that is marked yes, that's a trigger that we need that WBSA, which is the wood balcony stairs addendum. Excuse me. That is also reiterating that they should be looking at this report, and it's a disclosure to, hey, go get this report, and it should have been in your HOA docs. If you know the property's got these balconies and elevated elements, just include the WBSA with your offer. Let's get ahead of it. Or if we know that on the listing side, let's throw it in with the listing docs. But let's get ahead of some of these things instead of acting shocked. This is where some of the delays in files happen because, oh, I didn't know I need that. You just walked up the stairs to go show the property. You know you need that. Make sure you're taking your time to take a look around things. And if you ever have a question, you can give me a call or the TC you're working with or your broker of record just to verify. It's better to double check early while we're getting sorted, while everybody's got some time before we're in a panic and trying to make sure we're getting the loan docs. So overall, the whole thing is Now the report has to be in the HOA docs. Lender can require a copy of the report. So we're going to need to watch our time frames on ordering the HOA docs because that could delay your loan approval waiting for that report if that's what they're requiring. And these are the different key pieces that need to be included in that report and should be on that summary page that everybody should be looking at. Most likely, I'm going to have my files have at least request the summary page acknowledged, or I need a receipt from escrow stating that they've seen a copy of it. But I have a feeling if the lender's requiring it, it's going to be back and forth. So I'll probably treat it like treat other reports. Page one, at least acknowledge and how many pages were in there. So I have proof that hot little hands were on the report and saw it. Okay, let's go to the next one. Third hand smoke. Oh, this is a fun one. We've seen this already with the SPQ, and now it's been expanded that we're disclosing about was there smoking of tobacco? Not just did they smoke on the property, but do we know if there's residue? Well, I don't know if there's residue. If somebody smoked, likelihood of there being some level of residue is pretty high. And this is the sole responsibility of the seller. So if the seller even thinks that there could be, it's better to always disclose. Buyer can do their own investigation. This does not require the seller to provide a nicotine test of the walls or anything along those lines. This includes electronic devices. People are like, well, I vape. It doesn't count. Yes, vape leaves sticky on the walls and in the carpet. And it can be in the blinds and it can be in anything, the vents and the filters, anything that's kind of got that porous ability to have this smoke permeate it, it's going to leave a residue. The other thing is, can you could probably smell it. I'm very sensitive to smoking smells. Not everybody is. You also could be a situation where once they move in, they could smell it. It's better to disclose if there's even a thought, even if somebody walked through the house once. My Aunt Maddie was here and she smoked out on the patio. Okay, but then Aunt Maddie was allowed back in the house, maybe, depending on how your holidays go. And so with her coming back in the house, that's on her clothes. That now could go onto your walls. Don't risk the challenge of this. Can be somebody could take this, depending on their sensitivity, could potentially be a health and safety issue for non-disclosure. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. Better to go ahead and err on that side. If you as an agent smell it, put it in your AVID. Smell the smoke. Client, I never smelled the smoke. If you smell it, if something feels like it is, and you know it, it's better to say buyer to verify all. Again, verify that with your broker of record, Sierra Legal, all those people. But to me, I'm a big transparency. Let's get that info out there to everybody. This is a TDS level disclosure. So if this is not disclosed, if this is missed, if this gets changed, we're going to get start over timelines just as we would as if you had not provided the TDS. Same like you do with your fire for your home hardening. So this still is a situation that even with the ESD, I've got to double check. I think it's on there too. If it's not, and you know about it, even though it's a tedious one, always better to disclose. And as they've revamped the RPA, that if the seller has enough knowledge as an exempt seller, LLC, trustee, whatever, well, sorry, shouldn't say LLC, but an actual, unrevocable trust, true trustee, probate, REO, but they went in and they're like, oh God, you can tell somebody smoked. Go ahead and do the SPQ or add it to the ESD as material fact not shown, shared. The more information that you can provide, the more details that we can give, the better off everybody's going to be. So again, keep on that and have a conversation with your client when you're taking the listing or when you're doing the showing. If there's a concern, address it sooner than later. Because again, with being TDS level disclosure, that changes what civil codes come into play if there is an issue after close of escrow. This one doesn't apply as much for us down here, San Diego. This is more Ventura and LA counties that unfortunately were in the massive fires that happened last year. Basically, this is saying you cannot do unsolicited offers, fire affected, anything along those lines. You can't just randomly call up and go, hey, we want to buy your property. I've got a buyer for your property. That's your phone call, that's your email, that's your text, that's a mail, that's showing up with a fruit basket. You can't do it. Now, if the seller or the owner of the property chooses to put on the MLS, if they have put a for sale sign in their yard, if they have put something into print somewhere that they are selling, that's a different conversation. But this is to avoid anybody basically being harassed and abused and taken advantage of due to their what potential financial situations with the loss of their homes and structures on these properties. If you made the offer prior to 10/10/25, it's not subject to this law. You can solicit for listing. You can say, hey, would you like to list your property? If you don't have a buyer waiting in the wings, that's a different conversation. If you think you're going to dual end it, that's still solicitation. So you got to be very careful. Double check it all with your broker and your E&O. There is a new form that you can have where this can be documented that this was unsolicited offer attestation. It's actually supposed to be recorded, so it would go with the deed. That's still kind of a gray area. People are still trying to figure this out. So those in LA and Ventura County are probably going to know more than we are. This isn't something I'm going to be dealing with as much since I do most in San Diego, Riverside, Imperial counties. So verify with your local title and escrow and make sure you've got the correct information from them. Again, violation is a violation of DRE licensing. So let's not do that. We like our licenses. Those are our livelihood. We want to protect those with all costs. And I borrowed this from the CAR legal presentation. These are the zip codes that are impacted. You also can find the legal live on CAR. They have a few handouts. They have the slides from the presentation, as well as a new laws PDF. And if you're interested in any of those, I go ahead and drop me a comment or bounce me an email. I'll make sure you've got all my info, and I will get those to you so you can see copies of them. As long as you're a CAR member and I'm not doing anything in violation of CAR. Disclose, disclose, disclose. Okay. Now the BRBC. Well, what's the big deal, Sam? Haven't we already done everything? Yes, but there's been an issue. We've had a problem of what is 3 months, what is 90 days? Because if you're going month to month and it's very hardcore, but 90 days could actually be into a different month because of 31 days, 30 days, 28 days. So the December 2025 version of the BRBC was updated to say it automatically defaults to 90 days. Even if the agent screws up the dates or whatever, it automatically defaults. You can sign it ahead of time. I can sign a BRBC with you saying, hey, I know you're not buying till you get back from Aruba. Let's go ahead and do this. And when you come back, we'll start working on the 15th. And then your clock would start from the 15th for 90 days because that's when you're actually working together. Signing the document ahead of time is acceptable because you are setting up that you will be working together in the future. Another clarification that was interesting is they're still going with prior to executed agreement. So I know it's a hard thing sometimes when you're going out and trying to set up with people and going, hey, sign this contract to work with me, even though it really does protect you as an agent. You're not wasting time driving around with somebody who's not a real buyer. You can talk about, as you should, in the BRBC, the financials, making sure that they're able to either give you compensation or if you need to have compensation requested in the RPA. Are they buying as an entity? Do we have the trust docs? Do we have proof that Aunt Martha said you could buy this? Do we have all the LLC docs, probate? Do you have authority from the court? All that fun stuff you're supposed to be gathering. That's part of the benefits of using the BRBC. But that takes time. And so the state of California recognizes that, hey, as long as you have that signed prior to a fully executed contract, cool, we're fine with it. But NER settlement from last year, oh no, almost 2 years, but last year, but it's going to be 2 years here in a second. They say it's prior to acting as an agent. And right now there is a court where she is trying, there is one of the circuit courts is looking at maybe rewinding the settlement. I know, ridiculous, but it is happening. There's a lawyer who is looking into saying, no, that wasn't enough compensation because of all that happened with Sitzer Burnett and the level of compensation that's being received by those that feel that they were harmed is minuscule. A large portion of those multi-billion dollar settlements went, or $1 million, excuse me, settlements went into dealing with the lawyers. So that's also up for debate. So be aware. I'm going to err on the side of caution that's going to keep me as protected as possible. I think as soon as you start working with anybody, get them to sign it. If you can't sign them for a BRBC, you're only going to go see a couple pages, do the PSBR. So that's like, we're just going out today. If it doesn't work today, we both walk away. Protect yourself. These are tools and there are great role playing situations that I know many brokers have. There are many role playing situations you can watch on YouTube. There's scripts that are everywhere. Get comfortable with this. This is part of our business and this is honoring and protecting yourself. You work too hard to not make sure that you are working with somebody who is going to make sure you are compensated for the intellect, efforts, and talents you're bringing to the table to help them get the home of their dreams. It's not a scary thing. It's just a reality thing of documentation. It's making sure everybody's still friends at the end, and we all know what we agreed to from the beginning. Easy peasy. Now, the interesting one on this, on the NAR FAQ, they're now saying that this doesn't mean hosting an open house or access to an unrepresented buyer. I don't know what that's doing about the open house forums where we were supposed to have everybody sign in. I know they've kind of disappeared. They're like a peed. I couldn't get anybody to get them. It was a nightmare. So I'm wondering, I'm gonna have to look into that a little bit more and see what's going on with that. But I think we're not gonna see those as much. Check with your broker of record what they're requiring. I'm always a fan of documentation, but I'm a nerd like that. So do with that what you will. Okay, AB 1455. We now are down to zone zero. That is right at the structure. That is within 5 feet of the structure that you are to create an ember resistance zone. What does that mean? Get anything that is combustible out of there. Get anything out of there that is going to be of issue or anything along those lines. Then what you want to do is if it's a new structure, it's now immediate as of December 31st. If it's an existing structure, it's a 3 year time frame. This is not a point of sale requirement. So it's going to be interesting as we've had issues with the FHDS before playing out. How are we going to do this? What are we going to do? I've this is the where you can look up more about the projects, programs, and defensible space zones. If you need the actual live link, feel free to bounce me an email, drop a comment. One of those fun things. I will get you all of this. But bottom line is, if you've got that old barky stuff that we did to try and make sure for irrigation and retaining water, that's incredibly flammable. If you've got a lot of old stuff gathered up on a patio, that can be extremely flammable. I think it's gonna be interesting. Like our barbecue's within 5 feet. I know we've got a pergola that's within 5 feet of our structure. So I'm interested to see how this is going to play out, especially with my canyon living and finding out what our insurance is going to require. So stay tuned. If I learn more and more details about this, I will definitely be doing another webinar quick post about. This one, I have not as much information, but I have been in touch with the California Escrow Association and going to be working with them on doing a presentation specifically for TCs and then also for agents so that we know what can we information should we get ahead of time when we have a different type of buyer. When you've got this is basically we're trying to help with the government to mitigate money laundering. And San Diego and any of the West Coast bigger cities, same thing with the East Coast, anything that's an international access, we've already been under watch for this for many years. But now they're talking about this being national. It is in a court situation right now. It's not supposed to be fully effective till March 31st. However, escrows are starting to have to collect things. Talk to your escrow officer if you have an individual buying all cash in an entity, LLC, something along those lines, and what's going to be needed. They're talking, wanting to know everybody who's in the trust, everybody who's benefiting from the trust, not just the trustee who's allowed to sign for it, but like that would have been me as a down leg for my mom in her trust. That would be if my grandma is giving to all the kids. They're talking social security numbers, filling in forms, all sorts of things. Get in touch with your escrow officer. I will have more information on this as soon as possible. They're getting some more info and we're going to talk after the first of the year. But you need to know violation of this law, it's a daily fine that it impounds. And that's to the escrow officer and can also include the agents at some point. Yeah, I don't want to spend money on this. Like $1,300 a day situation that keeps, and every day is a new violation. So you just keep building and building and building. We need to be aware of this. Talking to my escrow friends, they are more upset about this than I think we as realtors are understanding. It's going to be additional costs. Expect to see some of your escrow costs go up. Also, expect to see some portals that your clients will need to log in directly themselves due to the sensitivity of the information that is going to be requested. Escrow, of course, does not want to be in charge of it. They do not want to collect it. I wouldn't want to collect it. Makes total sense. That's way too much private information, but it needs to be relayed and it needs to be tracked. So there's going to be some different ways this is handled. Talk to each one of your escrow companies. Find somebody who can be there as a resource. And if you have any questions, give me a call. I will find you somebody. Always talk to your broker of record. Talk to check in with Car Legal. But it's a bigger deal than I think we're realizing, and it's going to impact time frames. So if you've got anybody who wants to do one of these all cash, quick 10-day deals, but they're with an entity, do your research ahead of time. Let's manage expectations, manage how we're going to be able to help with time frames. And if I haven't said it enough, always verify with the broker of record of the file you are working on. And that one didn't get updated, but that's okay. I will be having more coming up on different topics and things here in the future. I definitely know the FinCEN is coming up. I'm going to go through working with the RAD, why I do believe you should have that on every single file. I think it's a really important form. And CAR Legal does not spend time holding that many town halls and also not recording it if there's something going on. So to me, that's the red flag I'm paying attention to. So I'm just going to throw it on there. You don't have to use the other boxes about referral fee if you're related to anybody or financially benefiting. And it's great to say, hey, I'm a realtor and I'm held accountable to this stuff. So if you have any questions, as you can tell, to the point of even coughing, I am happy to talk about the stuff until I am blue in the face. I love it. I am back from my health sabbatical and just as talkative as usual, looking like everything's good to go. So I'm excited for a great 2026. Please, seriously, feel free to contact me anytime, even if I'm not TC on the file. I'm happy to talk concepts, ideas, all of that fun stuff. I do have a Facebook group with tips and tricks that you can join, or you can follow me on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram. I don't know, all the cool kid ones, whatever it is. I'm Sam Hayes. This was Why with One Stop, talking about the 2026 new laws that are impacting your real estate transactions. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you. There'll be an update later or later in January about which schedule, but I'm looking to do 2 webinars a month. So I hope you'll join me then. Thanks so much. Have a great day.